We are live. Wonderful. Okay, so hello everyone. I am JB Thiebaut. I'm the founder of Music Hackspace, and together with the MIDI Association and NAM, we started the MIDI Innovation Awards in 2021. So I will be your host today. Behind the scenes, we have Avan Billy as the president of the MIDI Association, who is running the show. So the MIDI Innovation Awards has 5 categories of products and of awards. The commercial software products. Hello, the winner is Krishna from last year. Hello, Krishna from Chennai. We have commercial hardware product, and the winner was Henrik last year. Hello, Henrik from Berlin.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. Prototype and non-commercial hardware product, that was John Dingley. Hello, John from Wales.
Hello.
And prototypes and non-commercial software products, and the winner last year was Marcus. Hello, Marcus.
Hello.
So today we'll hear from all of you, and just a quick reminder about the MIDI Innovation Award. So it's a celebration of innovative software, hardware, but also installations. And this year we welcome Sound on Sound. And am I showing my screen? No, but yes. So you can see my screen now. We welcome Sound on Sound as media partner, and we're very happy with this because it will help gain visibility for all the entrants. This is a 3rd edition, and you have until the 23rd of May to enter the competition. This year, we have a new jury composed of Jean-Michel Jarre, Orjalin, Michelle Darling, Nina Richards, Diane Liunian, and Pedro Eustache. So really stellar jury this year. All the entrants will be divided in the 5 categories, and we have a public vote starting on the 30th of May, which closes on the 21st of July. After which, the jury will select the best 3 products and rank them, and the winners will be decided in a live stream featuring all the 15 finalists. So it's now time to hear about our award winners from last year. So the first one that I'd like to interview is Krishna Chetan. Krishna won the first year as well with Fluid Pitch, and he won again in 2022 with Fluid Chord. So Krishna, tell us a bit more about the motivation behind Fluid Chord.
Hi, Jane. It's good to be back. Fluid Chords is actually an extension of our first product, Fluid Pitch, which, to put it in simple words, it's like an auto-tune plugin, but for your pitch bend wheel rather than vocals. So performers who's playing keyboards and using their pitch bend wheel, if they use Fluid Pitch, they cannot go out of the key that they are playing in. So if you're playing C minor, blues, jazz, whatever your scale, while you're playing and performing and using your pitch bend wheel, you will never land on a wrong note. That was the whole idea behind Fluid Pitch. And we had several features on it, like micro tuning and even MP upscale mode, which allowed polyphonic pitch bending, which sounded very unique. So for the first time we were able to hear how a chord bend would sound, and that really opened idea for our next product, which is called Fluid Chords. And with Fluid Chords, we really want to explore this small idea what we have, what we made possible in Fluid Pitch, and explore it into a full-blown product where we had completely redesigned the UI for it to be able to see multiple chords and to see fluid movement of like the bending between chords. And we built this very beautiful 3-lane MP visualizer where you can see chord bending from any chord to any chord, which was only possible with Fluid Chords. So for instance, you can bend from a C minor to a really big A flat major 7, or even an chord which is built across multiple octaves. So there's really no limit. Up to 15 notes you can build a chord. You can go from a single note to a chord comprising of 15 notes, explore pitch in different ways, and create chord rises, bend from any chord to any chord. And it was a very exciting journey. And we won MIDI Innovation Awards for that product as well. Um, and then, yeah, that's where yeah, yeah, today.
Great. Well, let's watch a video. The video you made last year, which explains also very well your product. What a great video! So you are based in Chennai, where also AR Rahman has a school there, which you teach there. Do you teach there at AR Rahman school?
I do teach part time there as a tech teacher, yeah, music tech.
So was working with AR Rahman kind of an inspiration for this work?
Yes, in many ways, AR is always pushing the limits of what's possible in everything that it touches. So, if you are recording a flute or a sitar, veena, he always pushes that musician to, uh, you know, uh, to the edge of what's possible and what's done in that instrument. Like, so we always likes musician who pushes the boundaries of what's possible in that instrument, right? That's how, like, this the Assad sitar is from the Slumdog Millionaire and all that happened. So he's always up for innovation. I remember we, like, bought the MacBook Pro with the PCIe slot even before Apple released. We bought the Apogee cards even before Apple released the MacBook Pro. So it's always tech forward thinking. And um, so yeah, so I'm and being part of his team, I've always been doing some uh, tech side stuff, doing some problem solving, and setting up computers, Avid machines stuff. And so uh, so it so working with him really helped me to see the tech side of things. And me being a music producer, so I was able to, like, merge both these worlds and see unique problems. As an Indian music producer, I was able to see problems which others didn't solve, and just trying to do solve them myself.
Great. So since winning last year, what happened in the past 12 months for you and your innovations?
Right. So we released a couple of updates for Fluid Chords, one of which was really big with our latest version 1.4. Really improves the real time mode, which actually sparked with our conversation with Jordan Rudess on our last NAM booth. Um, so Jordan Rudess came to our booth. He played, and he had some ideas on how to push the limits of the real time mode. him being a live performer and all that. So so we took that inspiration and pushed our limits of what was happening in the real time mode, and pushed it a little bit more further, and now we are really happy at where it is.
Great. So, MIDI 2.0, is it something that you've considered integrating in your software? And did you see possibilities that were not there before?
Yeah. So regarding MIDI 2.0, we really committed to bring support MIDI 2.0, and we are working looking at our ID, which is Juice, and uh, um, all those this thing to support MIDI 2.0. Um, but in terms of functionality, certain things need to be changed, but I don't think it will be really hard, and we would love to use the features uh, like the per note pitch bend messages, and other new features that MIDI 2.0 offers, and which I believe will make the product even more capable, because we now have even more higher resolution, uh, and more capabilities on all side of the spectrum.
Great. Well, I will now. Thank you for now, and we will continue the conversation after the last interviewee. So, thank you very much, Krishna. I'll see you in about half an hour.
Thank you.
And thank you. And I welcome now Henrik Langer from Berlin. Henrik and his team won. Hello, Henrik. You
Hello.
won last week the commercial hardware with the Somi One, which is a wearable instrument, something you can wear on your wrist, on your ankle, dance with, and it sends MIDI messages to the mobile phone or maybe your DAW for making music. So, what was your motivation? Are you a dancer, or did you? What made you think about this idea and want to create a harder product?
Yeah, there were a few factors. So on one hand, yeah, actually I was a dancer in my youth, but it is a very long time ago. But at least I had somehow got in touch a little bit with the dance community at that time. But a bigger factor was that so all our team is doing music themselves, and also more playing live, especially electronic music. And we really felt that there's a lack of new interaction possibilities to control electronic music instruments. So on one hand, it's like the really old-fashioned way that you're pushing buttons, turning knobs, still like the 60s basically. On the other hand, there are so many sensor technologies available nowadays, like fitness wearables measuring all kinds of different body stuff like blood sugar, whatever. And we thought, okay, well, it makes totally sense to use movements because it's very intuitive on one hand, and right now we are at the point that it's affordable for artists to purchase several movement sensors that you can attach to your whole body. So basically, your whole body becomes a MIDI controller, which offers a a new kind or new level of expression for artists. And we thought, well, that's not on the market yet, and there's definitely a market in our opinion, although there was not really a similar product at that time. So we just went that way.
Great. And at the time as well of winning last year, you had a successful Kickstarter. So congratulations on that. And I think the video that we're going to watch is also, you also made it for the Kickstarter.
Yes.
Great. Well, let's watch it, and then we'll be back to you.
Hi, we are the three founders of Instruments of Things, a music tech company focusing on interaction with sound. and we have developed a technology to turn movement into sound. Or to put it in other words, we have created a one-of-a-kind dance instrument called Somi 1, the sound of me.
The heart of Somi 1 are these motion sensors, which can be worn as wearables and which transform your movements directly into sound. So with Somi 1, you can turn your everyday dance gestures into musical expression. The sound can either be generated by the Somi 1 smartphone app, which offers several different sound presets, or by any MIDI-capable instrument or music software, for example, Ableton Live.
The motion data is received wirelessly with the Somi 1 receiver. The receiver guarantees extremely fast response times and distances of up to 50 meters. It's really easy to use. Just connect the receiver via USB to your smartphone, open the Somi 1 smartphone app, choose your desired preset, and start making music via movement.
Okay. Well, this is a video kind of a bit short here, but Henrik, I have a question. What is the most interesting, touching use case, or memorable or funny use case that you've seen of the Somi one? There could be several actually.
Yeah, totally. So we have really quite a lot of customers from total different areas. But let's say most of them are doing live performances, obviously, with performance, doing some collaborations with musicians and visual artists. And of course, the feedback, especially of the performers, was that in terms of improvisation, like each event is very unique, and the lights and the visuals and the music is reacting to the dances. So basically, each time they're having this live showcases, that it's always a unique experience. So we got great feedback of them, but then we also have totally different applications as well. For example, different kinds of installations where just some droney ambient sounds based on some influence on the sensors by some wind or whatever. But also recently we did a workshop with a friend who is doing ceramics. And so she was just wearing the sensors and did ceramics, and then we had some nice ambient sounds while she was doing that, and it was like a really kind of meditative thing. And so yeah, there's a lot of things we still have to discover. So really, that we get a lot of input from people, also for handicapped people, for example, being mentally or being physically. So yeah, it's everything is really interesting what the people and the artists come up with, and that's exactly what we wanted to accomplish, to just give them a tool and see what they're doing with it.
Yeah. What has been the most challenging for the company and for you in getting this far?
Yeah, like most of all music tech companies doing hardware in the last years, it was definitely the component sourcing problems. So like the production was really hard, especially after we did the Kickstarter. We already knew that it won't probably get better, so that's why we had to raise the prices just to somehow can put out this product on the market, and it's still the same. So in the beginning it was said, yeah, it's just for a year, but now it's like for 3 years, and we're still the prognosis of the market analysts still say, oh, it will be probably for even more 2 years. So for us and for all other music tech companies into hardware, it's definitely the production. Yeah.
Right. So you still having issue of production, or do you have stock? I mean, how is it now? So can you pre-order the Somi one, or are you fulfilling the Kickstarter orders?
Yeah, we already fulfilled the Kickstarter orders. I think it was the last year in November. So basically, we produced the first production batch was a pretty big one because we had to basically. So we had to put a lot of risk into it to a little bit reduce the production cost in terms of to increase the batch size. But right now, I mean, it's nice, but also it has two sides. But right now, we only have like 15 units in stock, and we expect to get the next batch in about 10 weeks. So right now, yeah, we are having the same production issues, although we are getting the components. So that's the very nice thing, at least, because in the past there are a lot of companies who don't get the components. There's no chance to actually get them, although they are paying or offering 20 times higher prices for that, but you just don't get it. And we at least get in, but of course we have to put a lot of money into that. So yeah, that's the thing. But we still have a few in stocks, and we will the next batches will arriving soon for sure in 10 weeks.
Right. Well, good luck with that. So, are you continuing to work on the firmware of the object, or are you mostly focusing on the software part, or both?
Yes. Yeah, both definitely. So right now our biggest focus is on a mobile app. Basically it's for iOS and Android, and it offers several different soundscapes for, in this case, like a 808 or nature, or so different topics basically that are covered in the app, and it focuses more on consumers, so people who are not, or performers who are not typically into music production or into MIDI technology. So it should be really a plug and play approach, so they can get started instantly. And at the same time, we are opening the app to external sound designers, so they can create new content in the app for mobile devices and share it with the community. So we hope to create somewhat a platform where the community is starting sharing their own use cases, for example, for ceramics or for yoga or for fun sports, whatever. So that's what I mean, that we really want to create a big opportunity for the creators in general. But also firmware-wise, we're also working a lot on new movement parameters, which are more abstract and more really focusing on performers. So, for example, we right now having a new thing which will come out soon, a rotation counter. So, for example, artists or performers can turn around 10 rounds, and then the parameters or control change value goes up, and then they tone clockwise or counterclockwise back again, and then it goes lower again. So really to focus more on the movement itself rather than specific MIDI parameters, basically.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Henrik. I look forward to asking you more questions about MIDI 2.0 and how innovation in that space, how you see it progressing. But it's now time to speak with Marcus. So thank you very much, Henrik. Speak with you in 20 minutes. Hello, Marcus. Marcus with a K. Apologies for the typo in your name. Yeah. You won last year the software prototype with the Music Kraken, and that's quite a fascinating piece of equipment, of software equipment that you've built, and you call this an experimental MIDI controller construction kit. So. Tell us about your motivation. What did you want to have so many forms of input to control music?
Well, I started the same way as probably most people start, with a MIDI controller. I made an app to test different sensors of mobile devices. I usually do that to training, and then when I had it, it was a bit boring. So I thought, like, okay, I'm making music, so why not send MIDI with the sensors? So I tried it out, and it worked quite nicely. So I put it away because I didn't have time, and then COVID-19 came, and I suddenly had a lot of time. So I thought, like, yeah, why not spend my time with making my own music MIDI controller app? Yeah.
Right. So, and at first it was. Sorry. Go on. Absolutely.
No, where was I? I started to make a huge list of all the features I wanted to have in the app. I just started to randomly implement things, and I started to combine them. And then after a while, I found, like, why I can combine. It's really fun to combine different sensors. Why not allow the user to do this himself? And that's why I made an editor, so you can combine everything yourself, and made a huge list of different sensors that supported. And my list is still far from complete.
So now you're selling it as an app for Android and for iPad? But when you
iOS
began working on
version.
it, did you have a commercial objective in mind, or is that a bit accidental?
It was more accidental. I mean, of course, the last time I released my own app was like 10 years ago, and then I became a father, and I didn't have time anymore, and so I suddenly had time to make my own app again. So I was just like, yeah, let's really release something, and yeah, it's more like a fun project, and yeah.
Great. Well, let's see the video you made, which is great, which will give some context around what we just discussed. Wow, this is very, very impressive. I mean, the number of features you have as well, and this doesn't show all of them, I think, because on your website, I think
No,
there's even more.
yeah, it's always growing, continuously add things.
Sorry. Yeah, that's very, very interesting. Well done. Do you have any plans to turn this into a plugin?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the smartphone is ideal because it has so many sensors. Plugin would be more like on the Mac or Windows. It would run on Mac and Windows. It even runs in the browser. I've made a browser version for fun. It compiles for that. But I mean, there's no touchscreen usually on a Mac and Windows. There can be a touchscreen, but it's yeah. So far, I didn't have time to make actually Windows and Mac versions of this. And the browser version I will maybe just release for fun because it's impressive that it works actually.
Yeah, for sure. So, what are your users using Music Kraken for? I imagine the use cases must be very, very different.
Everything. I mean, I have users that use it for people in wheelchair because you can make music just moving your mouth or with your head. You don't have to move anything else. Or I have dancers as well. I have a lot of very experimental artists that make special installations with it. I also have a lot of normal users that use it because you can. I mean, it's a cheap. You can use it as a cheap breath controller, for example. You can use a mouth to control something. You can use your hands. So while playing a keyboard, you can use your hand with that. Yeah, I really have users in every case, every area, which is great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Are there any features of MIDI 2.0 that you're particularly interested and excited about that open some new possibilities for control?
Everything. I already have prepared everything. I mean, I already have per note control anyway on the keyboard. In Music Kraken, I already have higher resolution internally, so MIDI 2 is perfect for that as well. And also, yeah, I mean, it opens up a lot more experimental possibilities. So I've implemented so far the basics, but I'm still waiting for a bigger player to release their version so I can test it. But yeah, it's ready almost.
Right. So what's the next feature or set of features that you're gonna work on?
The next one I'm currently working, I have body tracking and hand tracking already, but I'm implementing now that you can record, for example, a body pose. You can like move like this and then record it. And then if you make a similar move, it plays a chord. And also with the hand, you can use gestures or whatever. And if it detects the gesture, it plays a chord. So you can make music like this or while dancing or anything. I mean, it doesn't have to be music. You can trigger anything with that. That's the next feature. It's almost finished. I'm still perfecting the hand tracking because the fingers down here are not really tracked as well, but I'm close. So yeah, but
So if I understand correctly, sorry, there's a delay. So if I understand correctly, your system will memorize a gesture like this or like this,
yeah,
and then after you register 10 gestures, for example, you can just recall them, and it
exactly.
plays as a
Yeah,
sound that you want to do. That's great.
Yeah, you can make music with your hands gestures. Yeah, if everything works
That's great.
correctly.
So people can,
I haven't tried it with a whole music piece yet. It's really difficult sometimes to train it, but I'm getting better.
great. I imagine this is something that Henrik and the folks at Instrument of Things must be also looking at, because there's an element of personalization that you're reaching with this, that maybe with their sensor and their wearable Somi One, they might want also to. So yeah, maybe we would have a conversation.
Yeah. It's really great in combination, actually, because I'm just tracking the camera pose, but I can't track the wrists. Well, you can use the Apple Watch for that, but the latency is not really good. So sensors like these are really good for dancers because I can combine both of it.
Right. Okay, wonderful. Well, so thank you very much, Marcus. We'll meet again in about 10 minutes. It's time for us to invite our last presenter of today. So thank you, Marcus. I'll speak with you soon.
Thanks.
So our last presenter today is John Dingley. John Dingley from Wales in the UK. Hello, John. So your innovation is quite fascinating because not only because I'm French and that you sort of digitalize a French instrument, but also a very, very old instrument from the 10th century, the hurdy. And you've taken the idea of this instrument and digitalized it. So how did you come to it? Were you a medievalist originally, or?
No, I actually come from a sort of scientific and medical background, and in '93 I saw Nigel Eaton play hurdy-gurdy with Led Zeppelin, and because they featured some guest artists, and that's the first time I saw one. And when I retired recently, I got in touch with him and asked him if he could recommend maybe a kit or something. And there's only one good kit that's affordable. So I bought that, and it's actually laser cut plywood, and it was designed by a guy called Jack Brand in the Netherlands, and he's like a mechanical design engineer. So he brought some modern techniques into the manufacture. So by laser cutting all the woodwork, you save a massive amount of time and therefore cost, because as you probably know, normal wooden musical instruments are very expensive, and that includes hurdy-gurdies because they're complex and handmade by luthiers with waiting lists of 2 years, 3 years sometimes, because they can't make them very quickly. And so then I thought I'd digitalize it, because I have a friend who plays Scottish bagpipes, and he has an electronic practice chanter, so that he can play without the neighbours coming round and threatening him with violence. So the hurdy-gurdy is a bit like the bagpipes, except it's a stringed instrument. It's in the concept. It has drones, and then you can play continuous long notes with it, and it's loud. So it seemed like a good project, and it has keys. among other things on it. So it can be MIDified, if you like.
Right. And so did I get that correctly? So you're very impressed by a concert you see in 1995, and 25 years later, you decided
Yeah.
to do it. Okay.
Well, I've
That's
met,
a great story.
I didn't move in artistic circles, but I've met some amazing people. It's like a new life for me. I've just gone off in a different direction to my previous life. But I'm an electronics hobbyist, and I make things, and I've got old cars, and so this suits me absolutely down to the ground. And it started as a personal project, and I started a Facebook page, and people were just asking me to build them for them. It started off as literally just a box with keys on it that was 3D printed, and it was really quite rough. It didn't work very well, but it just about worked. And so the demand was clearly there. With the power of the web, even though it's a rare instrument, enough people are watching globally to express interest. And indeed, most of my sales now, so I've started a company, are to the US, believe it or not France, for some reason. It's just how life is. Maybe because we Brexited, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't volunteer an opinion on that. But well, let's see the videos that you submitted last year, and then you can tell us all about what happened since.
Okay. DigiGurdies can all be powered via the USB lead from an attached device such as an iPad. On this partly assembled front panel you can see micro switches for the keys, laser cut construction. One of the panels is actually the PCB itself, and the microcontroller can even be removed from under a cover. The key box can be detached from the main body of a device via the docking plug to create a more compact key box. When it's attached to the main body, you also have the crank feature, and I'll show you how that works. And this is based on a dynamo system. This is a gear motor acting as a dynamo.
Right. Okay. So, looking at your website now, there's a lot more videos, longer, with you explaining some aspects of it. So, fast forward 1 year, what happened in the past 12 months?
I'm going to try and move my camera in a moment. A lot. Basically, it went from a hobby to a business. I started a business. I created a website. My bank refused to give me a business bank account, so I used an online bank, a reputable one. I've got a PayPal business account, and that's enough to get going. And I spoke to my accountant, and she agreed to look after my books because I've never run a business before. So off we go. So technically, a huge amount's happened. I'll try and move my camera. So apart from T-shirts, there's the website. This is the
Very nice.
This is the new one. You can see it's all about the time it takes to assemble. Most of the cost of wooden instruments is actually the assembly time. So this has been designed completely for ease of assembly by me. So you see the keys are now laser cut. We have MIDI out, and we also have MIDI in now as well. The crank handle here has a kind of traditional S-shaped, there we are, part aspect to it on the end there. That's actually laser cut from steel by a local engineering company, not particularly expensive. And then things like this. This is, whoops, try and get the screen on. This screen cover is just a simple laser cut piece of acrylic. So everywhere we can, we've saved money. We've reduced the number of 3D prints simply because they take such a long time to print. So key things like the handle and the wheel cover remain 3D printed. Everything that can be done in wood is done. The lid's not hinged because in my experience, the hinges always snap off in the end and crack through the wood. So it's actually held on by magnets at each end. And it plays like a hurdy-gurdy in that the keys, instead of fretting a string, they fret micro switches on this circuit board. And the other thing we now have, we have many, many, many buttons along here, as many as we can cram on to the PCB here. And the reason for that, just go back to normal mode here. The reason for that is the aim is for it to be a kind of generic instrument, ideally, and then you improve the performance, not with hardware changes, but with software upgrades. So we've got a really good software guy on now. He's based in the US. He just voluntarily came into the project, and now I give him a royalty payment as part of the business because he that's what he does for a living. He's writes software, and he's excellent. So there's like millions of different tunings. You can have tunings that don't even exist in real life if you want to, but there are also basic initial set of 4 for beginners. Because one thing that is unusual as a beginner is you can tune it in many different ways, and that's a little bit daunting when you start. So it has a kind of beginner, get you going section. For more advanced players, you can tune the virtual imaginary strings to any tuning you want. For the computer and technophobic type of people, and there are some customers like this, there's an optional audio board as well with a headphone socket, and it will actually play WAV files directly from a memory card to give you a same experience as playing a real one. Although the versatility in terms of setup isn't as large as with MIDI, and you can connect it to wirelessly or through a USB cable, USB MIDI to your other device. So you can, if you use a wireless sort of dongle or something like that, you can walk. You can walk around with it. You're not tethered in any way. Okay.
Right. So you won the prototype hardware category last year, and did you
Yes.
did it change something in your plans? I mean, would you be where you are now if you did not win?
It basically gave me a massive kick to up the backside to get on with it, because it forced me. You have potential orders coming in, people are inquiring, and then you realize you cannot make them fast enough. So you have to redesign it ruthlessly, not only to keep your parts count down and your costs down, but also the ease of assembly. I mean, there's a term for it, it's called design for manufacture. But it has to be redesigned. So it takes me, if I can shave 5 minutes off the build time of each one, I'll do it just by moving something or moving some parts. Have got a separate button on it to the circuit board itself, which means you don't have to solder the wires to the button. Just every little thing I can to save time, I will do. And it's become more minimalist and elegant as a result. I don't know if you can see it looks nicer than the last year's prototype, as well as having much more functionality. And the only other thing I've changed is the dynamo system, which gives you that buzz effect with the crank, which is turned out to be the hardest part to simulate effectively of anything. We now use a rotary encoder, which bits out pulses as you turn it to the computer. It's 600 pulses per turn, and then the computer can read those very fast and respond accordingly. And that's both reliable and it works. because I went to a big convention in the UK for the first time, and I was nervous because I've got this weird instrument that's different to everybody else's, and I'm not a very good player. And it was quite well received, but also I got to play a lot of very, very good, expensive hurdy-gurdy. So now I know what it should feel like. You know, if I wanted to make it as good as that, I know, at least I have an impression in my mind how it should feel in a tactile sense when you're playing it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, John, for sharing your experience. I'm now going to ask everybody to come back as we gonna have an open conversation around musicianship and its future. Actually, we have Rogelin listening, who accepted to join in this year's jury. So, and he made some wonderful comments on the hardware and the software participants. So thank you very much, Roger, for chiming in here. So yeah, the first question, I suppose I will ask first to the software people. Maybe we'll start with you, Krishna. You know, how do you think MIDI 2.0 will impact musicianship in the future? So maybe from the software side, Krishna, or Marcus, if you want to take that one.
Would you like to take, Marcus, or do you want me to take it?
No. Okay.
So in terms of software, see, the MIDI 2.0 is actually an extension of MIDI 1.0 in many ways, right? So the main concepts remain the same, and it can always fall back to MIDI 1.0. So in a lot of ways, it's just higher resolution and high capabilities, and which I think it's very difficult to like gauge where it'll go until the synths and all the other manufacturers like start using it. But I see really great progress on all the profiles that we made so far, like the orchestral profile, the MIDI, the MP upgrades, and every single feature like the per note pitch bend, which I'm really excited about, is I think can be used in many new ways in the software world, because one advantage in the software is we don't have to rebuild anything. Like we can think of an idea today and we can do it. But it's very tough to do that in the hardware world, right? So and I'm really excited about how the big players will adapt it, like the manufacturers of DAWs, and based on that we can orient ourselves on how to take it forward, and and how to best implement all the features that's available to us.
Thank you, Krishna. What about you, Marcus? What do you think?
He already said everything. No, it's great. I mean, it's in software we can really be spontaneous. We can change a lot of things. It's already it's great. It's already, for me as a smartphone developer, iOS and Android already supports it, so I can really just add things in, and I can deliver updates anytime, which is more difficult if you have hardware, but software can just upload it, and most users will get an update, and I can really try out things. And if a new DAW supports it or new hardware supports it, and I find out, okay, I made a mistake somewhere, it's kind of easy for me as a software developer to just upload it, the update, and yeah, it will hopefully work again.
Right. And from the hardware side, what do you think, Henrik, about the possibilities of MIDI 2.0? What do you see changing? I mean, or maybe even outside of MIDI 2.0, what do you see for musicianship, the innovations in hardware that can happen to expand the possibilities of for musicians?
Well, I think this whole let's say discovery engine behind it, so basically that you can get very customized parameterization of your devices, which is quite nice. However, actually, it's pretty much the same as for the software guys, that we are really more waiting until more other companies adapt it. So and basically, we all our developments are very community driven. So and right now we actually didn't got very much or many feature requests regarding MIDI 2.0. So at the moment, it's not that we are focusing it so much, to be honest. And in terms, however, in terms of resolution, that's actually a really important thing for us, because our sensors are really precise. So they have a precision of 0.01 degrees. And if you imagine, like, if you have making very small micro movements where you could do like pitch modulation, similar to a theremin or something like that, which is quite hard to accomplish with MIDI 1.0. However, we are using some proprietary tricks in terms of more high resolution MIDI Sysax. So basically, we are encoding floating point stuff, for example, into MIDI Sysax protocols. And for that MIDI 2.0 would be amazing. However, we really wait until the bigger companies are also allowing this. For example, I don't know, like Ableton, Logic, whatever, until they support it. Yeah.
Yes, there's a bit of a chicken and egg. So
exactly. Sorry. Yeah. The good thing is, of course, we also kept that in mind when we designed the hardware. So we have a quite powerful industrial microcontroller or two onto our hardware. So which allow to implement all the MIDI 2.0 protocols on our USB stack. So like in our case, it's also just a software issue, actually, not a hardware issue. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so JB, I jumped in because I wanted to actually say that one of the things that happened at the April NAMM show is we had the first public demonstration of MIDI 2.0. Actually, the Apple operating system Logic and audio units already supports MIDI 2.0. And so, as I think you also know, we're working with AME, and there's going to be an open source Windows driver that should be released, and the plan is to release that sometime in the fall. So you'll have all of the major operating systems. It's already running on Linux. There's a Takashi Iwai from SUSE, who's is part of the ALSA team. So I mean, things are really happening, and I kind of also wanted to throw it out to Heinrich and Marcus. One of the things that I have thought would be really great is to have a profile for gestures. So there were one of the important things about MIDI 2.0 is, number one, 2/3 of the things that you can do with MIDI 2.0 will actually run over 5-pin DIN. So you don't necessarily need to go all the way to higher resolution, which is of course great. But something like a profile that would say, when I do this, it means one thing, and when I do this, it means something else, and when I do this, it means something else. That's something that we could come together and come to an agreement on, a gestural profile, and then different devices and software would be able to communicate. So I think there's a lot of possibilities there. And the final thing that I wanted to say, sorry for jumping in all out of the blue, but next on May 27th, we are having another webinar, which is going to be the Music Accessibility Standard Special Interest Group. It's something that just got started, and we have an amazing group of people. And what Heinrich and Marcus are doing are and actually everybody here, but in particular, Heinrich and Marcus are doing things that are very aligned with that music accessibility standard, where we're trying to, one of the beauties of MIDI is that it allows people who are sight impaired, physically impaired, have perceptual challenges. It allows those people to enjoy the beauty of making music, which is, it's one of the most empowering things in the world. I mean, making music is a great thing, and one of the beauties of MIDI is it makes it accessible for everybody. So that's as you can tell, that's a real passion for me, is the music accessibility standard. So I invite everybody who's watching this webinar to show up again on May 27th. At 10 a.m. and we're going to do the music accessibility standard webinar.
Great. Well, stay here, Adam. Don't disappear. And if you haven't met Adam before, everyone, this is the president of the MIDI Association. Thank you for running the show. We have a question from Roger Lynn, and I think you should be there for that question, Adam. So the question is, what is the feature that will move more users and manufacturers to adopt MIDI 2.0? You partly answered this before, but I'm curious not only to get your opinion, but also everyone else, if they have an opinion on the topic.
Well, I'll tell you what my opinion is. An MPE profile. I mean, seriously, Hert Bevan, who is on the technical standards board of the MIDI Association, he always says this. He always says that MPE is a bridge between MIDI 1.0 and MIDI 2.0, and in many ways that's true. And our goal with an MPE profile is to make it basically what MPE does now to improve, musical expression, but give it the added reliability and configuration capability that the profiles do, so that it will be MPE, but it will actually it will work better because the two devices can communicate to each other and tell each other what should the pitch bend range be. All of those small details that right now you can't really do without that bi-directional communication that MIDI 2.0 enables. So MPE would be my answer, and I hope Roger would like that answer.
I'm sure he would. It's one of the very first, if not the very first MPE device, l'instrument. Anyone else has an opinion on that topic? What feature you see would move people to adopt MIDI 2.0? And it's a bit of chicken and egg, of course. But knowing that Logic, which you might not know, Logic supports MIDI 2.0. So is that the big thing that you needed to go ahead with it?
So, can I answer that question?
Please.
So, I think profiles will be a huge thing, like having a drawbar for organ profile, or a piano profile, an orchestral profile, where you can say, I have this many articulations in my string library. And imagine when big players like the contact libraries and all of them support all these articulations, and from your piano roll you can very easily and like fluidly change all your articulations, which is currently a big process. Like you have to set up a tempo, like a key switch map, name it, save it, retrieve it. Now, all of that will be gone, I feel like. There's a lot that film music composers is gonna gain. There's a lot, like music producers in general will gain, and even synth manufacturers, like companies like Arturia and NI, all of them will hugely gain by having this synth profiles embedded in their synths. So you can have this bi-directional communication, and I also see like MIDI controllers from companies like NI or M Audio and all of that, them supporting this synth profile. So you can hit one button and then connect to your Arturia synth or whatever synth that you use, and then you can fluidly control them. Then today it's with all like so many controllers, so many standards. It's still not a very easy adaptation to set up this MIDI controllers with. There's so many standards, but still there is no one leading thing that unites them all. And I feel MIDI 2.0 will be that glue which connects them all.
Thank you, Krishna. Yeah, that's a very good point and very well put. Another question from YouTube. What about 2.0 support in Web MIDI? Web MIDI is growing. For example, the Innovation Circuit Track software is web-based. You update the unit using the browser. So that's one question from Pablo Cubico on YouTube. Adan, do you want to take that one?
Sure. Yeah. Actually, Web MIDI 2.0 is something that has been brought up in the MIDI Association. It is something that we know we have to start working on this year. You have to understand the amazing challenge that the MIDI Association faced in trying to get all of the major operating systems first to adopt. So that's kind of the first step. Again, ALSA is also Linux. They're committed to it. We know actually now that Google is going to use the ALSA driver eventually in Android, which is a great thing because that'll bring the level of the APIs up. Microsoft is again working on their open source things, and all of that is planned, to actually come to fruition in the next, not years, but in the next few months, actually. And then I think the next things that we want to work on is Web MIDI. And the other thing that we're working on, which is making great progress, is actually network transport. And so that is really going to open up and expand the possibilities of what we do. Interestingly enough, this particular platform, Midiable, which I don't have it turned on in this channel because we don't actually need MIDI on this MIDI webinar, which is a little odd but true. This platform will actually send MIDI 2.0 over distance using a serial to USB, and it's kind of an interesting way to do it. We believe that Web MIDI 2.0 is something that is on our list of priorities for the coming year. And we've already had some initial conversations with W3C about it. So there's a lot of interest in the MIDI Association and also in W3C about moving that forward.
Great. Well, on this note, I think it's time to wrap up this wonderful seminar. There's a question about the next webinar, which is on May 27th. So it's in a week exactly from now, again, starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time next Saturday, 6 p.m. in the UK, 7 p.m. Central European time, and 9:30 or 10:30 in India. So thank you very much, everyone, for sharing where you are now. Congratulations on winning last year. I hope if you have something new to submit this year, we would love to have you entering the fold again and seeing evolution. Just a reminder that the rules around submitting a product, it has to have evolved. So if your software goes from 1.0 to 2.0, you can submit. But we have some rules about this. But yeah, we really love to have you, and we hope that you will continue to make great products, continue your products in the future, and continue to innovate. Earlier you said, well, it's a bit of a chicken and egg. We wait for the big doors to do something, but in fact, these big doors, they don't move very fast, and they look to you guys, and they are watching the innovation that you are making, and that sometimes helps as well them to sort of realize that things are coming. And Adam says, he nods because he's been at Yamaha for a very long time, and he knows it's true. So congratulations again. It was a real pleasure to hang out with you. Thank you everyone for watching on YouTube. You're most welcome to join again next week for the accessibility webinar. Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye,
Goodbye.
thanks.